Good day to all. This is Marcel. I'm standing here outside on the patio of the beautiful Toronto Hunt. Lovely backdrop. Birds are singing. Sun is shining. It's late May, and it's almost like a day in Portugal. I had the honor of visiting Portugal in September. Did a trip from Lisbon all the way, drove all the way up to Oporto. Actually, my good friend Wilson Teixeira toured us around, and it was a really amazing trip. Portugal is a very famous world region nowadays. It is becoming more and more popular, and it is because the quality of wines are really good. Today we're going to focus on actually the wines from Porto. And Porto is a region that is the second oldest region in the world. It was in the 1750s when it got this designation after Tokaji in Hungary. So there's a lot of wine history that goes with Porto, and of course the Douro Valley. The varietals that they use are not very common, like Touriga Nacional, Touriga Francesa, Tinta Roriz, Tinta Barroca. Tinta Roriz, you may be familiar with, is actually in Spain, in the Rioja region, is called Tempranillo. That's probably one of the reasons people are not too keen, because they don't understand the varietals. The varietals are terrific. They make really good wines, and of course, they've been making port for years. What I'm about to do is something really unique to port, and it is opening a bottle of port with hot iron tongues. This was invented by a great Portuguese man, because after 30 years, if you don't recork the bottle, the cork probably will disintegrate inside the juice and will contaminate the wine. So the port tongues made out of iron are designed to be heated red hot, clamp around the neck for about a minute and a half, and then with a cold feather, we're gonna slice the bottle open. So here we go, Elaine. I did this back in 2003 for an event for Peter Mosinski Wine Agencies with a bottle of Off-Lease Port from 1863. That was actually a really scary moment, as I was doing this in front of all the wine media. Tony Aspler, Margaret Swain, you name it. Every wine writer was in front of me. Just before I'm about to do this, the president of the Port Association, Luis Consecal, said to me, Marcel, you got to be careful. That bottle's hand blown, and that bottle may blow up in a million pieces. You can see the heat is happening, and it didn't. After a minute and a half of heat, I went around with the feather, and it cracked to perfection, flew up in the air because of the pressure of being there for so long. And it was a real success. So here we are up about how long right now?
We have about 40 more seconds.
40 more seconds.
35, 34.
35 more seconds. So please don't try this at home. There's a chance if you try this at home that the bottle may blow up, and you don't want that to happen. Now you got to make sure, if you're going to do this at home, make sure the tongues are red hot, and your feather is really cold. Especially if you use a goose feather is actually the best. In the case of the 1863 port, I use a macaw bird from Costa Rica. So here we go. I'm going to give the tongues to my wife, and we're going to get the beautiful feather out. And there we go. We're feeling things here happening. And there we go, ladies and gentlemen, a perfect cut. You can see actually how it actually cut it, and you can see actually the bottle, how it actually cut it like a knife. I'm gonna give it to my wife, she's gonna decant it. A little more information on port. We have Ruby. Ruby is kind of the entry-level port. It is actually aged in stainless steel. Then we have Tawny Port, which is a little better. It is aged longer, and it is aged actually in oak casks. Late bottle vintage is basically vintage port. Now, vintage port is a port that has been declared. The year has been declared. The year started with a really nice, beautiful spring, nice budding, a really nice long season dry in the summer, and then in the fall it was nice ripening. So that is the forecast. The people, the experts, they actually say, you know what, this was a great year. We'll declare it a vintage port. So that is vintage port. Basically, LBV are those the juice that was not used for the vintage port that is actually bottled at a later time is LBV. Now, ladies and gentlemen, I'd like to raise a glass of this beautiful port. I hope you enjoy port. Port's also good with cocktails. I may send you some recipes. I'd like to cheer you and thank you for once again listening to me. All the very best. Salud. Ah, beautiful.